What's going on, personal trainers and group class instructors? Welcome to the Mittwork University Podcast. My name is Coach Fatboy Shrink. I'm one half of this amazing show. What we are here to do is to help introduce and teach you how to use real boxing mittwork without any fight experience so that you can deliver amazing results with your fitness clients. And in turn, you can turn that into a high impact and a high profit personal training business. So if you're ready, let's get to it. Boom! All right, guys, welcome to the Mittwork University Podcast, guys. We're super excited to bring you a tons of value. We're not here to preach. We're just here to share. We kind of look at ourselves more as peers than like we're trying to teach you. We can all learn and get better. And let's do it together. Yeah. My name's Coach Fatboy Shrink. This is Coach Oscar of Victory Boxing Studios. Say what's up, man.
Chilling, man. I've been real good. Hope everyone's having a good time.
We just saw each other like on Sunday. I drove down to Bakersfield from LA so we can shoot some content for you guys. It's been a long time coming because we have tried different variations of this before. It was me trying to create this school called Mittwork University, and then I would always kind of call you for your help. I was like thinking a couple months back, I was like, man, like what's the point of this? let's just be business partners. You know what I mean?
Yeah. After that, I don't know. I feel like we kind of like always kind of go back and meet at some point. You know what I mean? So
right. And I feel like that you're passionate. You love what you do, and it's so funny because I've never actually seen you teach anybody. I mean, minus Carla. Even just from watching your videos and just your vibe, it just feels like you always go the extra mile for your clients.
Yeah. I feel like I have to. You know, I think just maybe as a coach and as someone who did it at one point in time as a competitive amateur. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I would want to coach people the way I was coached. You know what I mean? And it's just like, you know, you learn is, you know, that's kind of how you learn it. So it's almost kind of in a way the same way you teach it.
Right. The point, what we want to do in today's podcast episode is kind of give you guys a little bit of our backgrounds as to how we got to this position, just kind of share our stories. And then we will also be bringing on guests. Our goal is to interview your favorite fitness, boxing, personal trainer that you guys see on Instagram. And over time, we've been able to make friends with some of them. So we'll be bringing them along for the road. But let's start with Coach Oscar. Kind of take us back to day one of your boxing journey without telling the entire story, just the core snippets of it.
Okay. Yeah. I started learning boxing at the age of 10. You know what I mean? I want to say I started doing it more competitively around like 11, 12. You know, and I kept that streak going up until I was about, I want to say 27 now. So like 2 years ago was my last event. And you know what, though? I went through a very long series of coaches. Definitely learned from a lot of very different people, you know, growing up. But like I said, I started real young. Up until I was about 12, I had an old guy named Pablo that taught me, and just real basic boxing, nothing too flashy, nothing too eye appealing. Just
ABCs of boxing, right? How to move forward, how to move back.
Yeah, just the basic stuff, and you know what? That worked for a very long time. Because at the end of the day, fundamentals and basics work. You know what I mean? And you don't need anything more than that. Unless once you start to get better, it's a different story. But when you start, that's all you need.
Just to kind of remind people as to why we're here, we are talking to personal fitness trainers that want to add boxing into your fitness business. And so we're not speaking about, coaching fighters, but the fundamental principles of teaching it should still be the same, right?
Yeah, always. Because, and whether that's for fitness or if you're a trainer that wants to teach amateurs or even pros, you have to take it with a grain of salt day by day. But at the end of the day, the basic principles of always returning to basics and working everything piece by piece is always important. I mean, you want to learn it for what it is at the end of the day. Yeah.
And one of the things that we, Coach Oscar and I were talking about a couple of days ago was, there's other people. I mean, I've watched so many videos on, how to hold mitts on YouTube, because when I had first started holding mitts, there really was no school for it, at least not one that I was aware of. They teach some basic skills, some basic combos, but the thing that I really felt like was missing was why, right? So I feel like a lot of time, even for me, when I first started holding mitts, sometimes I wouldn't want to do certain combinations or mimic the combinations on the mitts because I was kind of afraid that the client might ask me why are we doing this? You know what I mean? Or the how, or, so what we really want to do is try to kind of fill in those gaps for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know what? So yeah, you're right. I want to say I feel like we went through like a similar trial, more or less. I feel like most coaches do when you go to start, just because you know how to put it. You know what to do, you just don't know how to do it. You know what I mean? And
Right.
then there's learning how to do it, and then why do you do it? And I feel
Right. So we,
I feel like that's the part that, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like in even most, there's a couple here and there, but they never go over like we said, the why factor as to why do you do this, or
right.
why do you need to do that, and for what reason.
Right.
Yeah.
And you dropped a gem last week when we were hanging out. You said the why is the answer to the how.
Yeah.
The why is the answer to the how, and I was like, man, like that was mind blowing, bro. Yeah. So okay, cool. So you started boxing when you were 10. You started competing when you were 11. You had your last fight. It was like about 2 years ago, which is at 25. Let's kind of fill in the gaps in between. So after you started competing, what happened?
So I want to say after I started competing, this was, I would say, when I had a small moment where I stopped boxing. I want to say I was about 20. I stopped competing for about a year. So I want to say I got a call from my previous coach when I was 21. He gives me a ring, and at this point, keep in mind, I wanted nothing to do with boxing anymore. I was at a point where I was kind of over it at this point. He gave me a call and he said, "Hey, would you be willing to teach boxing classes?" And at first, I didn't know what to think about the idea. At the time, I was a locksmith and I hated my job. So I was like, you know
Wow.
what? Like, I was like,
And let's remind people, this is an 18-year-old locksmith. Like, that's like saying like I'm an 18-year relationship coach.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was just. It was a very odd job, and I don't think I was the best I knew I was good at it. I just don't think me personally I was a good candidate for it. But
got it.
I worked that job from like 18 to like 21. Yeah, at 21 I was super fed up with it. I hated my job. I hated going to work. Period. And when he called me on this, I was like, you know what? I was like super close to putting my 2 weeks in. I didn't even know where I was gonna go work anyway. So I was like, you know what? All right, fine. I'll take the idea. Let's see how it goes. And I went.
Were you when that opportunity came? Were you pumped? Were you like you were unsure, but this is better than locksmith?
Yeah,
what was
I was more like that. I was more unsure. I didn't know how I felt about the idea of teaching, because I knew how to box. I just didn't know how to teach it. You know what I mean?
Which is two completely different things.
Yeah, because it's like the coach and then the fighter. They play a role hand in hand, but they play two very different roles. You know, and
right.
I knew the athletic part of it, but I didn't know because coaching, I want to say, is that obviously it's physical, but there's days where it's more mental, because you having to sit there, break it down, figure out how to get the right terms and analogies to the client,
right,
to get the job done. You know, and
right,
and that's the part that I didn't know how to do. So when you called
and
me,
that just comes from experience.
Yeah, and keep in mind, I didn't know how to do any of that. I had never coached anyone in my life, period. And I was 21, so I was still very young. I feel like most trainers are mid-20s to the 30s. So for me to still be at a very young age to try to fill in the gap as a coach, I feel like was going to be somewhat of a challenge, and it was. Yeah, I ended up going down to the facility. So I didn't even know what was. I went in extremely blind. I knew it was boxing, but I didn't know anything else about it. And what he told me is like, yeah, you give out a class, you get them to sweat, and you teach boxing, and just the basic.
Oh, it sounds easy.
Yeah,
sounds easy.
And it sounds easy until you start going up and start doing it. So they had me, shadow the previous trainer that was at the time. Because he was, I'm guessing this guy was on his way out. He was ready to leave soon, but they didn't have anyone to fill in his spot, so they called me. He showed me like basic stuff, like just the basic role of like teaching it.
Right.
And I want to say did this for like 3-4 weeks, where I started shadowing, and then when I finally got to when they finally gave me the opportunity to go and teach the class on my own, I completely froze.
Yeah.
I went up and I was like, all right.
I know the feeling, man. I know the feeling.
And I was like, all right, you guys. And I went blank, and everyone just kept staring at me. And I just froze. It was like 10 people. It wasn't a lot of people, but I just froze. I was like.
But at the time, though, it feels like it's 1,000 people, 100 people. You know what I mean? Yeah.
You're not used to having like that many eyes on you to follow a particular thing. So
right.
I was like,
because I feel like trainer is, if I can use a couple of different words for being a trainer, you're a teacher.
Yeah.
You're a leader, you're a mentor. So that's a lot. Those are very heavy roles right there. You know what I mean? So it's very understandable that you would feel like that.
Yeah, no, and it's and I want to say, and at that age, if you're used to doing most things on your own, like because everything I did previously to that, every job previously to that was a lot of construction based, and you're not leading anybody. You're there to do a job and you leave. So you're not
Right.
sitting there trying to instruct the process to anyone. So when you go
Right.
from when you go from a field that requires you to just do things on your own, because that's what most jobs want. They want you to be able to go out and do
Right.
something by yourself and then come back and then you get paid.
Which is basically
In
be a
coaching, it's
soldier.
very different.
Be
They
a
expect you to
soldier.
go out there, maneuver everybody, teach the program, run it in a way where it exceeds expectations, and then you get paid. So the process is
Right.
super
Right.
different. It was a super big change for me for sure when I went onto that role.
Now, speaking of, you had like a bunch of construction jobs. Can you tell us some of the non-trainer jobs that you had, like specifically?
So I want to say I did plumbing for a little bit. That was my summer job actually. I worked as a plumber for super long summer. In that process, there was some construction too that I had to learn. So plumbing, construction. I want to say after that was when I decided to get something indoors, and that was a locksmith. But
Got it.
before I was legal to work, when I was a minor, I
Yep.
did everything with paint. So I was a painter for a long time. That's how that's how
Wow.
we kind of made change around the house. My old man was a painter. He's still a painter to this day. So that's something that I had
Wow.
to
Okay.
pick up on. I believe me, even until now, I hate painting because, man, my old man had some crazy work. Had some crazy work ethic. So with him, it was no give. It was just, hey, let's do this and do that, do this. And I feel like now that kind of rubbed onto me
Right.
when I teach now, because I'm the same way. I'm like, hey, we got to move, we got to do this, got to do that. So there's like certain things
Right.
rubbed off from the jobs, not prior to teaching, but like the same ethic is definitely there.
Absolutely. I mean, even just watching you build that gym from the ground up that you have right now in Bakersfield. I mean, it's a beautiful gym. I mean, you did the plumbing, you did the painting. I'm sure you did the locks on it. I mean, all the things that you did in the past, it actually paid off for this one business, right?
I want to say definitely like the old previous jobs contributed a lot to the ability that I was able to do to this building. You know what I mean? Because and I had a gym previous to this, and same thing. We started off with a super ugly little room, and we made it something that people walk into. They're just like, oh damn, this is cool. And it was the same thing with this unit. We
Right.
got into it. It was just basic concrete flooring. Those little holes everywhere. The walls were just white. It's just a
I couldn't tell, my
basic
man.
unit, and now it looks all bricked out. There's bags there, the squat racks,
Yeah.
hangers. It looks crazy compared to what we first started.
Very clever. Definitely one of the most clever setups I've seen, and I've been to quite a few boxing gyms. Now let's quickly move over into, so after you had all these these construction jobs, you gave up the locksmith, then your old coach called you, you started teaching class. Give us like the 2-minute version of what happened between that first class and then to what happened now.
Oh, okay. So I taught at the gym for a few years. I want to say it was like 2 or 3. I eventually ended up wanting to leave that gym because of maybe the morals behind it. The coach that called me for that job was my trainer at 1.2. And keep in mind, when we moved here from LA to Bakersfield, we came in with no money, whatever. It was during that recession period where people were losing houses and everything. So my parents had absolutely no money. We were broke. My coach used to charge my father like $25 for a month to get me to go in there and just train. So I would say that for me was a very humbling thing to know when I got older. But when I got to this gym, there was a point where I feel like it got kind of greedy. And don't get me wrong, we all need to make money, we do. But I feel like there's a way to do it. And I want to say there was fairly bad experiences that I had that I was not okay with. This one in particular is the one I think that kind of did it for me. I was teaching a little kid in between classes, and I wasn't really sitting there trying to coach him or anything. It was just calling mitts for him. And my coach threw a fit.
Yeah. I mean, trainers do that all the time. Where like, there's a kid just hanging around. Like maybe it's a client's kid. You just go, hey, come over here. Like, just throw a little jab here, throw a little cross here, give me a body shot, duck under, duck. You know what I mean? So it's not like, it's not. First off, just because you don't charge that kid doesn't mean that the gym's gonna lose business.
No.
It's just us trying to be good human beings. Forget being a coach or a businessman.
And keep in mind, this kid was like 4, so he was just hanging out. Like the parents had brought him with them because they were watching their kid, and he was just kind of hitting the bag a little bit. So it was a little kid. But I'm just sitting there, kind of just playing with him, kind of holding mitts for him. And at the time, I was looking at my coach. He was in the office, and he was pissed. There's something that you can tell after a while when you're with someone for so long. And he was pacing, and when that man paces, he's pissed. He's upset about something. So
he's a pacer. He's a pacer
for sure. And
like hands up on the waist.
And he's just walking back and forth. So I go in and talk to him, and he said, "Did you charge him?" I was just like, charging for what? And he's like, because you're holding mitts for that little kid. I was just like, David, he's like 4. It was like 5 minutes in between class times. He's like, yeah, but that's your break. You shouldn't be coaching this. I'm like, David, the little guy's 4. And like, I'm not sitting there deliberately teaching him nothing. It's like, it should not be that way. You know what I mean? Like, it's a little kid. And he's like, well, you need to charge him for the hour. I was like, for the hour, I held mitts for like 4 minutes, if that.
Right.
I was letting the kid walk around. I was holding him for when he comes in. Like, he's just like in and out. Like, I'm not, you know what I mean? I told him, I was like, I'm not going to charge him. I'm not going to charge the folks $75 for 4 minutes. Like, I believe I'm worth $1 million, don't get me wrong, but I don't think I'm worth $75 for 4 minutes. I just
yeah.
You know what I mean? And then I think this is where I think I might have snapped a little bit. I told him, I was like, you charged my father $25 before to get me to train for the month, and you're gonna charge this kid $75 for 4 minutes. And he just kind of like went into shock, like they didn't say nothing and just walked out the door. And I didn't hear from him for like a week. A week after that, I get called into the office and they pretty much let me go at this point. I was just like, damn. I was like, all right, whatever. So I was upset about it. You know what I mean? Like I wish he would have had the heart to tell me something, but he just froze and gave up, or he kind of walked out. Then they let me go. I was like, you know what? Whatever. So I took off. I want to say it was about a month's time when I had put enough money together to open up my first facility. And this one was a partnership.
Which was a fitness overdose?
Yeah, so this is fitness overdose.
Yep.
I was in a partnership with somebody. You know what? It was smooth sailing for a long time. I think this was around the time that I met you.
Yep.
So she was going.
When you had the yellow and black bags and
the yellow and black bag theme, and my uniform was all black and yellow. Like, you know what I mean? That was just part of the aesthetic. But this is around the time that I met you. So at the time, my partner used to go to LA for training sessions in pole dancing, and I used to go with him. And this is when I found Fortune on accident, actually.
Right. Because at that time, the pole dancing studio was right across the street from us.
And you guys were in the you guys weren't in the front, but you guys were in the back of the street. And I remember that I dropped her off. I took off. I went to the liquor store, actually, the one that was right around the corner right there.
Yeah. Right next door to us.
And then I looked to my left and I seen the Fortune sign. It's just like, I was just like, oh, it's kind of cool. And that's the first time I had ever seen it. And I was just like, I've never heard of this gym. So I got into the parking lot, got into the gym, and I was just like, oh, this is cool. It was like a little rugged spot. I was like, that's kind of nice. Kind of hit the bag. I do remember going for like 3 weeks and no one really spoke to me. And the first person I think I want to say was Mark. Yeah, I think.
Okay. Mark Vu. Yeah.
But he asked me for sparring. I think I kind of gravitated towards Mark a little bit because I think he was the only guy that was my size and I think close to my age. I think the more I think I would continue to go from time to time. And I think this is also how I started getting pads with you. I think you came up to me and asked me.
I don't exactly remember what happened, but at that time, I was probably maybe like 6 months into holding mitts. Oh, I think I remember what it was. So part of my business model was I'm a new guy. I've been boxing for, I don't know, like 8 years or so. But, as Instagram was just starting to pop, I was trying to make some content. I saw that you were really good. And I was like, well, I don't really want to make videos with somebody that's not very good because that matters, right?
Yeah, because no one watches it.
Or no one watched it, right? So I was like, man, like this guy's fire. So I was like, I think that's why I came up to and asked you if we could do a couple rounds and then to make some content. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think after that, we started to get real cool because like I remember I would text you in advance and say, hey, do you have any like sessions open? And I think at first I would just go. I would bump into you from time to time, and we would always just end up shooting something. But I think after, I want to say it was once you guys had moved to the new spot, and that's when I would start texting you, hey, do you have any openings or this time or? Yeah,
because my schedule had kind of changed a little bit. But either way, I mean, it's, I think everything happens for a reason. I think we met for a reason. Here we are now, Is there anything else you want to add, Coach?
I would say that what we're trying to do at this point is deliver a shortcut without deliver a shortcut and a solution without all of the mistakes that we had to do.
Because we kind of had to learn on our own. We've gone through every mistake possible.
Yeah, we had to go through the why phase on our own, and we had to sit there and crack at it and make mistakes and do it 100 times just to get it to where it is now. And even now, I feel like we still make mistakes from time to time.
I'm still learning from time to time. I still choke a jab, like maybe the client may not know, but it's like, when I caught that left body shot to liver, like that rhythm wasn't on point. Like I caught it a little bit too late, but because we know more, we also more aware when we make mistakes as well too. Well, that's about it.
Stay tuned, for everything else. And we're here to deliver with
Yeah.
with nothing with not a whole lot of fuss in between. I think is what we're aiming for right now.
As you guys watch us, if there is a particular trainer that you would like us to reach out to, or you think that would be a good fit for the show and you would like us to interview them, just leave it in the comments below. One last thing is, if you are currently a trainer, leave in the comments below. We would like to know where you're training. So city and your gym, right? So if I was me, it'd be like Fortune Gym, Los Angeles, California. If it's Coach Oscar, then it would be Victory Boxing Studios in Bakersfield, right? So leave that in the comments below. And if we have brought some value to you guys, please like, comment, and subscribe.
All right, man.
All right. Thanks, guys.
I appreciate it.
Bye.